You are welcome to yet another episode of LFN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly, real name Robert Sylvester Kelly, also known as the R&B King. In order to gain the upper hand over the defense, the government strategically combined what in normal circumstances would have been several counts into single counts, and attempted to amalgamate what could have been simple charges into compounded inappropriate charges, such as the RICO and Mann Act violations, which were completely unrelated to the cases reported. Because the government prosecutors realized they had no real accusers with each one of the few they thought had a case, turning out to have either lied under oath before, or to have faked their entire accusations seeking financial gain from the R&B King. Some accusers such as Faith Rogers and many others technically had no case, as they were clearly adults when they met with R. Kelly, and even the ones the government believed were being truthful, such as Lisa Van Allen, eventually turned out to be just another fraud. Lost for ideas, the government decided to shift their indictment, which should have sought only to prove whether R. Kelly did indeed sleep with underage girls, and instead formulated freshly compounded charges such as the RICO and Mann Act, which do not necessarily require the accusers to be underage. These charges they felt were just perfect to be used to take down R. Kelly with impunity, for it was going to be difficult for an incompetent legal team like the one R. Kelly started with to challenge this kind of boundless accusations. From Bonjean's Chicago appeal briefs, we are now learning that just like the government did compound these counts and charges to enable their malicious agenda, they also forced evidence meant to support a single count onto several other counts which would have otherwise lacked sufficient evidence and be easily dismissed. When attorney Jennifer Bonjean detected this, she quickly served the court in her pretrial motions requesting that the counts related to government witness Jane be severed from the multiple inducement counts, but as usual, she was ignored. In Bonjean's submission, she stated that this was necessary since the evidence related to the alleged child exploitation of Jane, including the video recording of the said prohibited acts, were much stronger than the eventual evidence in relation to the inducement counts. Meanwhile, this assumed stronger video evidence which the government used to accompany the enticement charges was in the real sense weak when subjected to the argument of the statute of limitation, which, as mentioned in our previous video, had expired back in 2009. This they used to win over the already sentimental jury, who then wrongfully convicted R. Kelly, issuing guilty verdicts for all the counts. With this information, therefore, it is logical to conclude that there was a misallocation of evidence which caused the jury to assume guilt on various enticement charges where the result of the deliberations would have otherwise been different. So if anyone has been wondering how and why government claimed a big-time celebrity like Robert Sylvester Kelly would need to entice women to be with him, when in reality it's these accusers that did all in their ability to seduce him into getting involved with them, here is your answer. R. Kelly enticed nobody, but because the court adamantly rejected all pretrial motions filed by attorney Jennifer Bonjean, the enticement verdicts were smuggled in. This is in fact the reason we witnessed a sort of mix-up when the Chicago federal judge Harry Leinenweber advised the doubtful jury that even if R. Kelly was not guilty of coercion, another claim that was smuggled in the same way, for as long as he was guilty of one thing, he was guilty of the entire count. I had never in my whole life imagined that there will be such a day when the U.S. court will be careless enough as to assume guilt for one thing basing on alleged guilt for another misdemeanor altogether. Here is a comparison to explain what exactly happened. Imagine a petty thief walked into a shopping mall and walked out with a product he hadn't paid for. But on the same day, some money is reported missing from another store in the same building he did not necessarily visit. During investigations, CCTV footage reveals that this man actually did walk into the mall that day, and that indeed he did walk away with an unpaid product. This makes him a thief. Him being a thief, however, does not necessarily mean he is the same person that burglarized the other shop walking away with a bundle of cash, and for this reason, these two allegations are supposed to be maintained as separate counts in the indictment. In Leinenweber approach, however, these two incidences are presented in a single count, and he concluded that if this suspect is actually guilty of theft in relation to the unpaid product he walked out with, then he should also be automatically determined guilty for everything, including the money stolen from the other shop, which we are sure he didn't do. The strategy of combining charges into a single count that are completely alien to each other is a common trick to beat the legal system, by using evidence available for what should have been one count to support a judgment on what should have been another count, even if the defendant is innocent of the latter. And when such trickery meets with an already prejudicial jury, the defendant does not have a chance. When Jennifer Bonjean filed her post-trial motion in this regard demanding that the inducement counts from Nia and Pauline be severed from the exploitation counts in relation to Jane, the court should have listened and obliged to prevent this misallocation of evidence to support the non-intended counts, a move that resulted in an unfair conviction yet to be overturned. According to Joan, "I knew right from the start that this was illegal, and Bonjean's appeal briefs have just proved me right. The government was simply scheming for wins against R. Kelly, and it didn't matter to them how they achieved them. They were all out to win, even if they had to concoct charges or wrongly prosecute certain counts. It's no wonder they managed to break several laws as they schemed their way to sending the R&B king to prison." Citing the BOP involvement, the entire process was just another fraud. I hope the appeal court judges will be able to see through the government's attempts to overthrow the constitution of this great nation and reverse the damage already caused. This is not the kind of litigation our government is mandated to do, where they make sure to break the law with the claim they are trying to protect it. According to Dylan, the move by Judge Harry Leinenweber when he advised the jury that if R. Kelly is guilty of either of the two, coercion and enticement, then he is guilty of the entire count, which combined the two elements, was either an abuse of power or a lack of understanding on how laws should be applied. A count is the finest breakdown of accusations made against a defendant and should never be a combination of two separate criminal acts. Once this was detected, all he had to do was to register a mistrial like Bonjean advised, but he adamantly as always refused to. If you wish to take part in a live interview discussing any of these topics, let us know by sending an email to sashalfnmedia@gmail.com for scheduling. Thank you for watching today's video, a production of LFN Media, giving you another perspective of issues at hand. We make it our business to keep you updated with the truth amidst the cloud of lies the media wants you to believe. It is therefore important to subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon and allow all notifications so that you don't miss out whenever we publish a new video.